So I was able to check out the Flash movie over the weekend, so let's go ahead and talk about it. So we finally got the Flash movie that released after many delays and many production troubles behind the scenes and all that. Finally got this movie. This was a movie that was on my most anticipated movies of the year, and just because I like the Flash character, with him being one of my favorite DC characters of all time, I was excited for him to get his own movie. So I was definitely overly excited for this movie. Upon checking it out, I got some stuff to say about it. First thing I want to say is that this movie is I think this movie's a good movie. Now, a lot of reports were coming out, early screenings from different people saying how they thought this was the best comic book movie ever, this was the best DC movie ever. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with all those. I don't think this is the best comic book movie ever. I don't even think it's the best comic book movie of this year. I think Across the Spider-Verse and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 beat it. As far as best DC movie, I wouldn't say it's the best DC movie either. I think it's a good DC movie. I think it's definitely better than a lot of DC movies, but I don't believe it's the best DC movie either. I don't know exactly what they were like, why they were calling it the best, but I got respectfully disagree that I don't think it's the best comic book movie ever. I don't think it's the best DC movie ever either. So that I'm saying that, but that does not mean it's a bad movie or anything like that. I think it's a very good movie. I think it's could be a great movie, but I don't agree with some of those things that people are saying about this movie. I think what this movie is, with the way this movie plays out, it feels more like a DCEU kind of movie instead of like a straightforward Flash movie. Like this feels like it's a DCEU movie starring the Flash. Like the Flash is sort of at the center of it, mainly, yeah, but it definitely adds all this other DCU type of stuff in the movie. And I was definitely excited for this movie because they were trying to adapt a great Flash storyline from the comics with Flashpoint Paradox, which is a great story. I like that story so much. So they're trying to adapt that and have, those things in there in this movie. And, it definitely does try to adapt some concept stuff from that storyline arc. Of course, it changes some stuff around and all that, but like it was trying to adapt that whole storyline in a sense for this movie. And it does that for the most part. Of course, it changes some stuff, like I said. And I think they did a good job with adapting that storyline. But it's just overall the execution of this movie. There was still things I wanted more out of it. Like by the time the movie ended, I just felt like I had a good time with it. I had a fun time watching it. It's a fun movie. It's a good movie. But when it was all said and done by the ending, I just felt like I wanted a little bit more. Like I needed a little bit more from this movie to be able to put it on that top tier of good DC movies. Like I think this is a good movie, good or great DC movie, I think. But I don't think it's really necessarily a top tier kind of DC movie. I needed, like, when a movie was done and finished, I just needed a little bit more. I need something else from this movie to be able to put it on that top tier list of DC movies. And I just don't know exactly what it was or what they could have done, but like I just needed some more from this movie, and I just felt like I was missing something from this movie. Like with the character of the Flash mainly being comedic at times, especially with the way Ezra Miller plays the character, this movie was not like laugh out loud funny. It was more of chuckle funny. There's a couple parts in here that are funny where it's like I chuckled some, but it's definitely not laugh out loud type of funny. But I think people will enjoy it for a little comedy in there, here and there in some spots maybe. But really wasn't laugh out loud for me. Like laugh out loud funny for me. It was more like chuckle funny kind of. The way they were able to construct these running parts, when it comes to the Flash running, the way they play out is like it the scenery is going fast. Like the scenery, whenever he's passing by scenery and buildings and things like that, is going super fast. But the way they show the Flash himself, he's running. It looks like he's running in a slow motion type of thing. So he's running like slow motion, but the scenery on the side of him is going super fast. So like, of course, you see that. It's an interesting type of concept they're using for those scenes when he's running. I think it's interesting. But I don't know if it really is. I don't know if I like it just yet. Like it's cool. It looks cool. It's kind of interesting seeing it in this perspective. But I don't know if I like it just yet compared to like some of the scenes that we get from like the Flash TV show where he is literally running at full speed. You see his legs are moving super fast to where you can't see them and stuff like that. And the scenery is like moving super fast and all that stuff like that. Like I like those scenes. Of course, those are low budget scenes kind of, but like I do like those scenes. These scenes they might. I don't know if I like them just yet. It might take some getting used to seeing them, and it might grow on me over time. But I don't know if I like them just yet. But they're interesting to look at, I gotta say. I think when it comes to Michael Keaton return as Batman, I think a lot of people will get a kick out of it. Like I got a kick out of seeing Michael Keaton return as Batman, Bruce Wayne. Seeing his return he's awesome in the movie. I like seeing him around, just being that character in this movie, teaming up with Flash and all that, and just seeing that to come together with that. Like it's cool seeing him come back. So I think a lot of people, it'll hit that nostalgia factor for a lot of people. If you grew up with Michael Keaton as Batman, if that's your favorite Batman and all that, I think it'll hit a lot of nostalgic notes with that, with the people, and be good with them. And I just thought it was a good character to be able to bring him back and see him in the movie. It was pretty cool. Supergirl, I think Supergirl, they didn't use her as much as I was kind of expecting. You know, she kind of shows up like later in the movie to where, you know, we get all the setup, of course, in the beginning, and he meets Batman first, of course, and you get the more setup, and she doesn't come in until like later on in the movie. I think she was used as a good spice character, you know, sprinkled in kind of type of character to where she's not in the movie a whole lot. Like, you know, they go rescue her, of course, y'all know about it. They rescue her, and then she's in the epic battle, really. That's mainly about as much as she is in the movie. So like she's good. She's used as a good sprinkled in type of character. Like I like her character. I like the actress that's playing her. So she was used, you know, pretty decent in the movie. I'll say like there's a lot. Like it's a good movie to where it sets up a lot of things. Like you know the setup for this movie is good to where we get like the climax battle towards the later half of the movie and all that stuff. Like I don't think the climax battle was super epic, but it's definitely a good battle. Like it's enjoyable battle. It's a fun battle to watch and see. There's a lot of slow motion shots used in that battle too. They have music in the battle too. You know, a song that they play during the battle too. So like it's pretty cool and all that. But I don't think it's really epic type of scale kind of battle. But it is a lot of fun to watch. I would like to say I want to say when it comes to like some of the emotional scenes, there's a lot of emotional scenes. If you know the story of Flashpoint, where Barry goes back in time to save his mom and all that stuff, and you know you do get these emotional scenes within this movie of the Flash. I don't think they hit very well, at least on my personal preference. It doesn't hit very well. I wasn't able to really necessarily connect with those scenes, like those emotional scenes. Like they're done well, but like I don't know, I wasn't really able to connect with them as much as I was connecting to some other emotional scenes like I've seen in other movies, like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 or Across the Spider-Verse had emotional scenes in them, and I was able to connect way better with those emotional scenes than I was in this movie. So they're performed very well by the actors and all that stuff, but I don't think I wasn't able to connect with them as much as some other stuff. And I think this movie does really play out well as a movie for DC fans, particularly. Like, if you're a DC fan that grew up with DC movies and just different DC things, this movie you will enjoy spots and enjoy different aspects and different concepts of this film. Probably enjoy majority of this film. Like, this movie is mainly for a movie for DC fans, in particular, I would say, because with me being a DC fan, I liked a lot of things they did in this movie. I like some parts of this movie. Definitely, there were some other parts that did fall it fell a little flat for me, but like spots here and there, concepts, things that we're able to see in this movie was made for DC fans, and I did enjoy those parts. And I know a lot of people are talking about the CGI and effects and all that stuff, and they're all right. Like they're all right, and they're nothing to brag about or anything like that. But when it came to like some of the multiversal time traveling kind of stuff, there's you know those parts where Barry's like going into the Speed Force and all that stuff, and it comes to like the multiversal time stuff like that. The CGI wasn't good there. I don't know exactly what they're trying to do there. I don't know if it was just that's the choice they made for those scenes, but the way that the scenes played out and the way they looked, it looked like it was literally like a video game, like a cutscene video game from a video game. Like wasn't realistic. It just looked like a straight up semi-animated video game cutscene, really. And the way it plays out was like I don't know exactly if that was a choice they went with or what, but it was an interesting thing to look at. It was a little weird at first, but whenever we get those scenes, especially towards the end, more when we get those scenes, there are like some cool things that they do that's geared towards DC fans that I think DC fans will like. But on a scale of just seeing them straight out, they look weird. I don't know if it was a choice that they just decided to go with that kind of CGI and stuff like that, but it literally looked like it was a video game cutscene that was like semi-animated of sorts, and it was like just kind of weird to look at. And you know, we of course we get General Zod in this movie, where he's like kind of a villain in this movie. Of course, if y'all been keeping track of things, there is another villain in this movie, which is the Dark Flash, which doesn't play a very prominent role in this movie. I would have liked a little bit more from that villain in this movie. But honestly, when it came to stuff for that villain, it was kind of predictable. I was able to predict exactly what that villain was going to do, exactly the villain and what the whole plan of the villain was. I was literally able to predict while watching this movie and seeing different things play out. I was able to predict what would happen with that villain, and it came true towards the end of the movie, or you know, towards the later half of the movie. It came true, played out the way I pretty much predicted it. So it was definitely predictable on what they were able to do with that villain. And going along with that, there's definitely a lot of unexpected cameos. Like I said, this movie is a movie for DC fans, so those unexpected cameos were kind of cool and awesome to see. But I know there's people out there that are probably not going to watch this movie because of all the situation and stuff that's been happening with Ezra Miller. Like, I'm able to watch this movie and not think about that stuff. Really, I just really want to see this movie for the character of the Flash, really. And just, you know, there's a lot of people that worked on this film. So it's like, you know, you can't really blame those people, you know, just because one person messes up stuff and all that stuff. You know, it's like I'm able to differentiate between that stuff and just watch this movie without thinking about that stuff. So that's what I was able to do. But I think this movie is definitely going to be a word of mouth. Like its success at the box office, I think is going to really play out and be a product of word of mouth. Because like this movie, the way it opened up, it did not do very well. I think it only opened up to like $55 million opening weekend. So like this movie is definitely going to be based on how successful it is to word of mouth. Like if it gets enough word of mouth to where it's people say it's great and people want to go watch it, then that's going to be to, that's going to set up its success on if it does good, if it does well or not. But there's a lot of people out there that, of course, are not going to watch it because of all the Ezra Miller situation stuff and all that stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see where this movie lands on box office, how it does with its box office run. I do hope for the best for this movie. It's just hard because although I did enjoy this movie very much, of course, like I said, when it came to the ending, when the whole movie ended, I just felt like I needed more. I felt like I was wanting more from this movie, like a little bit more. Like it felt like just something was missing to put it at that top tier, top of the top tier thing, to make it a great, one of the best DC movies. Like it just felt like it was kind of missing something. It just felt like it was missing. I had a lot of fun watching this movie, and I thought it was a good movie and all, but like I said, it just felt like it was missing something overall to like just put it over the top for me, and I just felt like it was missing something. Like I wanted more from this. There is a post-credit scene, not major implications for the future or anything like that. It's just a little post-credit scene that's like haha, chuckle, kind of funny little scene that goes on. So it's not really major implications for the future or anything like that. But with that being said, I don't know exactly what they're going to do with this character. With the way it ended also, I don't know exactly what they're going to do for the future of this character, the Flash. They haven't said anything, of course, so it's just a wait and see. I don't know if they're just going to end it abruptly, like this movie's just a standalone, nothing for the future, no major implications for the future, anything like that. So I'm wondering what we're getting for the future of the Flash. I don't know what we're going to do. This movie, I say it's at least worth the watch, and it's going to, if nothing more, if it's not going to be, if you don't think it's going to be the best of the best DC movies or comic movies, it'll at least be a fun watch, at least in my opinion. I think it'll be at least a fun watch that's at least worth the watch. And I think people will at least have fun with this movie. So that's what I thought about The Flash after checking it out over this weekend. If you saw the movie already, let me know down in the comments below. What did you think about it? But that's going to do our first video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Remember, if you want to be a part of Team Legendary, all you got to do is subscribe and turn notifications on so you know when I post another video. Hope you all have an awesome day. And remember, be legendary.